height, weight, speed, and getting a hoop against other NBA hopefuls. That's what happened in Chicago. Andy Katz interviewed over 20 top prospects, so it's perfect that we have him on the show now. So, Andy, you spent some time with all the potential top picks, including Chet Holmgren. What did you learn from that particular conversation with him? Because it just seems so divisive about what he's going to be in the NBA.
You know, it was really interesting, Chris, because I've talked to Chet throughout the course of the season. I was kind of blown away by his overt confidence, and he was adamant that strength is not built on muscles, that he's a lot stronger than people think, that he eats, that he works out, that he lifts weights, and that he can handle himself. And really, there were two players among that four that we think could go number one, with Paolo Banchero, Duke, and Jaden Ivey of Purdue, the other two. But Jabari Smith of Auburn was confident he could be one. But Chet Holmgren was adamant that he should be number one. And that confident, bordering on cockiness, was pretty impressive because he didn't back down at all of the prospect of potentially being the number one pick.
So we know the lottery guys, like you just mentioned, Chet, I mean, they don't play against each other in the scrimmages and that sort of thing, but some of their former teammates do, and some recognizable faces from March Madness. Did any of those guys stand out to you this past week?
Well, a couple of teammates of Chet Holmgren did. Andrew Nembhard, who has already made it clear he's staying in the NBA draft, showed that he can run a team. Very experienced guard, played at Florida, and lastly, Gonzaga, leading them to a national title game 2 years ago, and then a number one seed this season. And then Drew Timme, he is a very interesting case here because we're in a new era of NIL. And Timme is intriguing, certainly could potentially be a high second pick. I don't know if he gets in the first round. He made shots, turned the ball over some. But if he goes back to Gonzaga in this NIL era, he'll do quite well for himself. So he's got a tough decision to make before June 1st. You know, a couple of guys that are at Kansas, Christian Brown, and Jalen Wilson. Bill Self was watching them, wondering what his roster is going to be like after winning the national championship. Brown has made it clear he's probably staying in the draft. And certainly a lot of teams like him in the back end of the first round. But Jalen Wilson really played well. And I actually now will be surprised if he goes back to Kansas because there was a buzz about Jalen Wilson. And so certainly there's a chance that I think now he may stay in the NBA draft.
Did you come across any guys that you think could be like sleeper picks that really didn't have that much, wind behind them before going into the combine?
Well, one is Dyson Daniels. G League Ignite team. He's Australian, came in, measured very well. There was a bit of a buzz about him. Always, as Isaiah knows, international players always draw more interest, it seems. And a veteran player that I thought really played well, and talking to NBA personnel, they agreed. I didn't know if he was going to get drafted heading into the combine, but now I think there's a strong chance that Colin Gillespie of Villanova will get drafted somewhere in that second round. Leader, winner, made shots, and he came back last season after tearing his MCL the season before in the bubble, led Villanova to a Big East tournament title game, to a Final Four, was the Big East MVP, really holds himself at a high level, high character. So I think that certainly he helped himself considerably. Another player that's going to be really interesting to see what he decides is Arkansas's Jalen Williams. He played well. Two other quick points I just want to make, Chris, that I thought were really interesting. One, the combination of Max Christie and Malachi Branham, the sort of contradiction, if you will, because Malachi Branham, who I think is going to be a lottery pick from the Ohio State University, he did say the Ohio State University, freshman came in, didn't start right away, really blew up during the season, and he's almost just overwhelmed that suddenly he's a potentially lottery pick. Whereas Max Christie from Michigan State, freshman, did not play as well this season, and yet he told me in an interview, no, he was going to be one and done. There was no question. And yet, heading into the season, we expected that, yes, but he did not have that kind of season. And the last thing I just want to point out is the measurements everyone gets all excited about. There was one that was crazy that I really want to know if the NBA comes back and says no. But Moussa Diabate, who's got a decision to make from Michigan, checked in at 2.7 body weight. That seemed a little bizarre because I think that would certainly be off the charts in terms of you need a little bit more weight than that, but he's got a decision to make. And the other thing I'll just say is I've been doing this a long time. I thought this was the best well-run combine that we've seen from the NBA. It was compacted at the Marriott Marquis next to the Wintrust Arena. All the top players came, not all played, but they all participated in interviews, which is a big plus for us at NBA TV. Did the medicals, everything. It was a huge shout out. I want to give to the NBA because I thought they did a fantastic job.